house on a Monday night. And y'all know, by the way, Mondays are one of my favorite days of the week. Sunday and then Monday. Why Mondays? Because I get to come on and talk to some of my favorite people with Megasource Entertainment, Mindset to Millions, and we all over the place, over 400,000 listeners in 20 plus countries. And tonight is going to be dynamite. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Mindset to Millions. I say this often. It's not about the money. It's about the whole thing. It's about your mindset. How do you see yourself? What have you walked through to get to this place called your new next now? Where Dr. Tammie and her wonderful guest on tonight, Mr. Donielle Davis, is in the building. My little brother. I love this man of God. You're going to see what I'm talking about, sir. Sir, are you glad to be with us on tonight?
Yes, ma'am. I am thrilled to be here tonight. I swear to goodness I am.
Swear to goodness. I love that. Swear to goodness. I'm going to introduce you, sir. I'm going to tell the people a little bit about you. And then, of course, I want you to feel free to jump in. But this guy, oh my goodness, he's some of everything in the world in a good way. That is this man of God. He's an entrepreneur. He's a consultant. He's a lifelong advocate for community restoration and recovery and wellness. Let me say that one more time. He is a lifelong advocate for community restoration and recovery wellness. And he's going to talk to you about what that means. I know some of y'all are like, well, what is that? What does that mean? But he's going to go more into detail. But what I love about his story is that God did it. Donielle is currently one of the first. The key word is first. Only, come on now. You better come on. You better come on.
It's four in the United States now. 4.
But you was one of the first.
I was the first.
The first, yes. Certified peer recovery specialist in the nation that is a former incarcerated individual to work for the Department of Public Safety and Corrections. I can't even holler, get it out. So, I mean, that is just magnificent, which works in collaboration with the Department of Parole and Probation in Glen Burnie. And he's going to talk a little bit about that over there in Maryland. But he is awesome. I know him from a spiritual standpoint. We've done ministry together, and I know his beautiful wife and his beautiful daughter, his family, but he has a whole lot to say, man. He's won awards, certificate. He's certified in so many different areas. But listen, I can go on and say a whole lot. Sir, what do you want the people to know about you that I didn't even say?
I put God first in everything that I do. I know that God is responsible for what I have done. Yeah. I'm an overcomer, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm also a person who boasts in my infirmities. I'd rather boast in my infirmities than boast in awards or accolades. And just that, I'm a person who's always trying to sow into somebody else. Because in my life, I deprived so many people of so many things that now I'm just committed to just giving all that I can towards community restoration and however that looks to said individual.
I love this. I love this. And I think about the work that you've done in Detroit, Michigan, presenting at international CTI International Conferences and just the different things that you've done in Maryland's Eastern Shore. The panel discussions that you're on and all that good stuff. So we're going to dive deep. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's do this.
I'm literally an open book, figuratively and literally. And yeah.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. I do want to say this. You have a story of recovery and transformation, but you're also an entrepreneur. You and your wife own From Rust to Go LLC. You all offer consulting services as well as an online store. with faith-based apparel. And that's because of everything that you've been through. You got a word, you got these sayings that just kind of jump out at you. So even tonight at the end, I want to make sure that we have an opportunity for you to tell people how to reach you. So prepare for that. But let's jump into a couple of questions. All right. So Donielle, can you share with our audience on tonight what circumstances led you to your time in prison? And I'm sure it was a painful experience, that got you there, but what was the circumstances that led you there, sir?
Circumstances that led me there is basically I thought I was too big for my britches. I was a little kid that had a great education. I graduated from high school at 16. I started going to college at 16. I was afforded luxuries that you wouldn't expect a child born from a 15-year-old mother. My mother is an advocate for education. She married a man whose mother was not only a freedom rider, but one of the founding mothers of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I hid that from you. My aunt's a judge. My other aunt ran housing urban development for 20 years. So, she married into a family who promoted education. And my grandmama, rest her grave, Barbara Jeffries, used to always just drill me about just the importance of education. But somewhere along the line, I thought I was smarter than everybody else. And all my friends were selling narcotics. So I'm like, well, I can do that. It's easy. I'm great with math. I'm great with manipulation. Anything that Satan could possibly use, he poured in me at a young age, and he knew that I wasn't ready for it. But because I had this education, I thought I was smarter than everyone else. But my maturity level was yet to catch up. And, like most urban kids, I decided that I wanted to be someone that I wasn't. Met this nice little church girl, and we started dating, and she got pregnant. And 3 months before her graduation, I went to prison. She was going to offer me a ride to work. I had just stopped selling drugs and went and got a job. She offered me a ride to work. I'm like, nah, honey, I'll walk. And I left her with a baby. And in all intents and purposes, when I came home, my daughter had graduated high school.
Wow.
So, trying to be something that I wasn't. Smoking, drinking, using cocaine, selling cocaine, fighting. The things that kids do that don't have anything else on their hands but time and idle. Time is the devil's workshop, and I clearly was playing. It was the devil's playground. I clearly was meant to get on the merry-go-round, go down the sliding board, and get on the swings. I played in every park that the enemy had. And in retrospect, I gave 18 years of my life to it.
Wow. Donielle, when I got the chance to know you and your beautiful queen, I didn't even know your whole story all those years ago, but you came across in a way that if people did not know your story, they would not have known that you experienced the transitional seasons, being incarcerated and leaving behind your beautiful woman and your baby. And when you get out, the baby is 18 years. How can you share with us or share with us, let me say that, share with us, how did your experience in prison shape your understanding of yourself and your life purpose? Because see, now you're making massive moves, and some people made a transition, but they're not making massive moves. How did your experience in prison shape your understanding of you and your life purpose?
Well, before I even knew who Jesus was, I understood that favor wasn't fair. I made it through all those years unscathed. It's a lot of men that weren't able to do that. I believe, Tammie, to be honest, God put angels every step of my way. It was always people who saw something different, who was like, this little kid right here got potential. And, while I was on lockup, I went on lockup because I used to think I could fight, and I was always into something because I'm just
throwing them hands.
I'm a little, I had the little man complex, and somebody who really had great affinity for me decided that I needed to go to college, And from there, I graduated from University of Maryland Eastern Shore while in prison, so that helped shape me. But a conversation really helped shape me. I'm walking on my way to get a meal, and a gentleman that I used to play chess with started asking me about Jesus. And when he asked me about Jesus, even though I tried every religion in the world, Nation of Islam, Moorish Science, atheist, I tried every religion in the world. And when he asked me about Jesus, I gave him the genealogy and how it stretched back to Ruth and Boaz, and how God always used one blood to build all nations regardless of color. And they were like, how you know that? I was just an idiot for reading. And that passion for reading is how God just wrote me in. And for real, what shaped me is getting intertwined with Jesus. That changed my whole entire life because I didn't grow up in church. I didn't know anything about church. The first time I really experienced quote unquote church is when I met Teresa. Because Teresa's that girl I left with the baby. Yeah. And she was my first introduction of Jesus Christ. I couldn't even pronounce the words in the Bible right. I'm Job, and even though it's Joe, I mean, I like, this is the same thing I roll weed with. Look, Job, the papers. So that's just how I was, and I think what's really shaped me was just my experience with Jesus, because it gave me a different outlook and perspective on not only my life, but how, you trying to find a beautiful way to say this, but you may make your choice, but you don't choose your consequence.
Woo. Come on, say that again.
You may make a choice, but you don't choose the consequence.
That's
People
right.
have this beautiful, every action has a reaction. Well, every choice has a consequence, albeit good or bad. So through my relationship with Jesus, he just started to show me, the consequences of some of my poor choices and the elegance of some of my great ones.
I want to jump in the chat because we got people who are on tonight. They're listening in. They're excited. Ronnie, so good to see you. I know you're going to get a lot out of tonight because this young guy's story is magnificent. God has transformed him. Renee, good to see you as well. I see Maggie's in the building. Yes, yes, yes. So good to see. I love to see when people jump on and they chime in. And Donielle, people are certainly chiming in. Ronnie says having a personal relationship with Jesus is the best one to have. So people are going to be jumping in. So I'll check the chat from time to time. But sir, let me ask you this. So for the people that are just jumping on, because we have had people that jumped on a little bit late, I want you to understand this young man of God who is with us on tonight. He's an entrepreneur. He's a consultant. He's a lifelong advocate for community restoration and recovery wellness.
I know it.
Yes, you better know it. And not only that, even though he was incarcerated, was it 18 years, sir?
18 years, 8 months, 28 days.
Oh, my. When you look at his life and you see what he's doing, it's obvious, it's mindset to millions. He lived to tell the story. Sir, I need for you to jump ahead a little bit and then we're going to come back. You were the first to do what?
So in 2020, one of my friends, at the time I was working in Delaware, I was doing case management for the state of Delaware, business interface. And one of my friends said, hey, I got a job opportunity for you in Maryland. It might not pay as much as Delaware, but it'll get you doing something that I know you're passionate about. And I didn't even know what a certified peer recovery specialist was. But the flip side of that is a year before that, I joined one of my friends who was just going to take the class and took it anyway, just to take it. I mean, that's just how God works. So I took the job and it led me to speak here, speak there. And I was volunteering for my job at the local parole and probation in Caroline County, in Denton, Maryland. And the field supervisor saw that. And she was like, I need to take what you're doing to the parole commission, because this needs to be a job. And they talked to Mr. Michael Richards, who's the director of the Department of Public Safety and Corrections. And he was like, I can do something with this. And he hired a gentleman named Marlo Hargrove, who hired me. The beauty of this is Maryland is the pilot for this because no other state does it. Next month, they're flying to Georgia to set up a pilot there so they can have former incarcerated inmates go into these parole and probation, because who better to sit across from you than someone who's experienced what you've experienced? It's just like walking the Christian faith. How can you testify to someone and tell someone about an experience if you don't have a clue? Don't stand in the pulpit and tell me you don't know what I've been through, and 20 years later, I still don't know what you've been through because you never told us.
Never told us. Man, I love your transparency. That's one thing that I've noticed about you. You keep it 100. And he keep it so 100. He even be calling me out, y'all. The last time we spoke, you tried to call me out. And I love that, because we need people to help hold us accountable and share information that will help shift our mindset. And even as I talk about mindset, the millions is not just about your money. If you have the money, if you go put your money up, but your mind is off, and how you see yourself is off, I'm sure it's a lot of young men and women who have been incarcerated who, Donielle, can't reach up to the level in their mindset to even believe that they deserve to be at this table. How did that happen for you? You deserve to be at this table. When did you come to that conclusion?
This is going to sound crazy, and my wife just heard this for the first time the other day. But I was talking to one of my friends that I was incarcerated with, and he talked about how in 2004, I started writing this. So I saw this 20 years ago, and I had the phone on speaker, and she heard it for the first time, because I had told her like remnants of the story. But I put this plan in effect after a dream from the Lord in 2004. The nonprofit, me and my sister wrote up in 2013. I just have a belief that if God can give me the vision to visualize it, he can give me the components to build it. You know, today I told one of the agents at my agency that you can't have $2 a day and someone give you $1 million tomorrow. You still got a $2 mindset. I refuse to have a $2 mindset. And I understand favor isn't fair, but I also understand that if you show me your faith without works, I'll show you the faith with mine. I'll show you my works with faith. Sometimes you got to make the opportunity that God affords you. And I'm just not afraid to do it. And sometimes that means people looking at you with disgust and chagrin because you actually were honest enough to say, hey, this is what I've been through. Not everybody likes that. You know, some people probably still hold stuff over my head from 30 years ago. But a man who views himself at 50 the same way he viewed himself at 20 wasted 30 years of their life, according to Muhammad Ali. So you looking at me from my 20s, you done wasted 30 years of your life. I'm 50 years old.
I love this. I love this. Let's jump in the chat. Oh my goodness. I see Bishop Judy's in the building. So glad to have the queen, the woman of God here. And we was just talking about mindset a couple of days ago, how you have to elevate yourself in a way where you connect with people who even understand where you're going. And Maggie says testimony and what God can do within us. Yes. So correct on choices. And she's going in. He will allow us to make them, but he also won't leave us either. That's right. Come on, Maggie preaching tonight, but she does that every Monday night. And I love that for the chime in and the people just sharing. You know, Donielle, let me ask you this, sir. That queen, that wife, that woman of God, that lady's anointed. I met you all in a service in Clayton, North Carolina, and she was leading prayer, and you were working with her. You all were working the altar. Now, she made a decision to wait for you for 18
Absolutely
years?
not. Come on, Tammie. Let's keep never that. Actually, she had moved on with her life, and why wouldn't she? Here's this knucklehead bad boy, because good girls like bad boys. Um, he leaves me with a child, and I gotta raise this child by myself. And I'm a kid. Because she was 18 when the baby was born.
Wow.
And I was 20. So at the end of the day, she had a life to live, and she had her own testimony and struggles, but God, fulfilled her and continued to have her going. And I never saw this actually. The first time we had spoken in 7 years was like a month before I was about to come home. And we were talking about some things with my daughter. And we share a birthday. So yeah, right. We share a birthday. And they happened to come from North Carolina and see me on my birthday. And they came up here and we went on a date, and we played with the Lord, to be honest. We played with God. We started just talking on the phone, and then, she had told me where her stance was as far as, the next man that she dated was going to be her husband. And I say jokingly, so what day we getting married? And we start playing with the calendar. And God said, okay. And we had picked May 10th, 2014. This is some folks who ain't really had two good conversations in 7 years. And Lord behold, here we go. So she had her life experiences, but God made sure that she didn't have another child or another husband, because he was keeping her for me, because he knew he was going to restore his son and send him back to her, the man that she was supposed to have. So I'm cool. I didn't even look for anybody else, because when I came home from prison, I was scared to death. I'm like, man, I don't want nothing I didn't have before I went in there. I'm So if I didn't go in there with it, not coming home to receive it, and you can read into it if you will.
I understand.
Me and gave me a beautiful wife, and I'm proud of her. Every step that she makes, because I'm a handful. It's a lot to deal with me. I ain't.
You're my little brother. I know.
A lot to deal with me. I come with a lot, and I had to get therapy coming from prison after all that time, because you can't spend all that time in prison without things like post-traumatic stress, without anxiety, without bouts of depression. So, she had to deal with a lot for me to become who I am. But God gave us both patience and favor to do it.
I want you to stay right there. I think about men who haven't even been incarcerated, but they outside in the real world, functioning, working, and doing life. And they may need some therapy because of childhood traumas and just life in general. What made you realize when you saw the resources that you needed and the programs that you needed, whether it was therapy or group counseling or whatever the case is, as a man, and especially as a Black man, how did you know that you needed to do this, and what pushed you to get involved with like therapy?
Honestly, because I've seen so many people in churches try to pray things away. And sometimes it's a beautiful thing that Paul had Luke the physician with him. Because even when Paul traveled, he knew he needed the doctor with him. And I say that because sometimes we need to be able to talk to someone outside of the ministry that we go to. And there's nothing wrong with that. I knew that in order for me to get to where I got, I needed to go and talk to someone who could give me an honest opinion about me that wasn't slated. And I got a great pastor. He's like my brother. But when I went to therapy, I needed to go to therapy for me, not my pastor or not my wife. I needed to go to therapy for me, because there's certain things that almost 19 years of prison, I can't just give it to you. I need to give it to a professional. And some people may not like that approach. Some people may. But even through fasting and praying, some people have mental illnesses. and they sit in the church, and especially with African American men, because black men don't go to doctor for nothing. I'm polar opposite of that. I'm at the doctor for everything, because I'm trying to live this life here. I'm trying to live everything God give me until God decides to take me. I'm not gonna make, there it is, choices and consequences. I'm not gonna make unhealthy choices and expect healthy consequences. So
I love this. I love this conversation. Yeah, yeah. I love this. And what I love about this is, and ever since I've known you and your wife, the transparency that you have, because we're not having these conversations, whether people been in prison or not been in prison, whatever the case is. And so I really appreciate your openness. And even when we were talking earlier, you was like, it's no question, it's off limit. And so for those who are listening in, thank you for joining in. Please feel free, if you have any questions whatsoever, ask in the chat, and we definitely will let the man of God know. So, sir, when you think about being incarcerated for all that time, and now you've made history. God have recreated laws for you to be able to have this position. It's almost like, wow, God would do that for me. But have you had to deal with stigma of being an ex-prisoner, like as you have been rebuilding your life with family, friends, colleagues?
or I exhale. This is one of those moments I had to behave. So to be honest, Tammie, I think the biggest challenge for me has been myself. Because sometimes God give me these things and I don't feel like I deserve them. But I know it's a trick of the enemy. But still, it's real. And I know I'm not the only male or female that feels that way. It's like buyer's remorse. Sometimes I have buyer's remorse. God has done some things for me, and I'm like, I don't even know what I did to deserve it. And I understand grace and favor. I understand the merit of faith. But sometimes I feel like when it happens, I'm like, oh my God, me, little old me. And then I remember all the people who said no. I remember coming home and having to work 2 minimum wage jobs and move furniture. See, this is what people see as the now, but they don't see the coming home from work, going to work, working on the weekends. And I'm driving to Carolina on the weekends to see my family, making sure that Teresa and Deja are okay. And I'm coming home from prison and people still viewing me as that little 20-year-old boy who left. And this is the inner workings of family. And then every time I accomplish something, it's because of my wife, or it's because of my God, or it's because of something else other than the Holy Spirit working in me, pushing me forward, God ordaining me, and just work ethic. I came out of prison with work ethic because I didn't have it when I was before I left. But I came out of prison with an internal desire to say, I'm going to do it because you don't believe I can. But then the enemy used that against me. So I had to backtrack and understand that I'm doing this because God allowed me to, and I don't have to prove it to anyone. So now there's still stigma. I'm pretty confident that there are people that I work with that don't believe that I deserve the job, even though I have more education than them. And oftentimes I come in contact with people who are not afraid to say, man, I'm one house raid away from being where you were, or my boyfriend got busted and I just got out the car, or I was down the block with my sisters. And so, now that I'm in what bureaucracy would call a top tier job, I find that more and more people can identify with my experiences, just not the experience of prison, because God favored them not to go.
Come on.
And that's cool. The Bible says that I refine thee, but not with silver. For thee I've chosen the furnace of affliction. So I got refined by the furnace of affliction. And I'm cool because I can see the gold work, even though sometimes I don't feel like I deserve to see the purification or feel the purification. God gave it to me. So who am I to tell him no?
Come on now. Who are you to tell him no? You know, when I think about your story and your book, and you're going to talk a little bit about that at the end for those who
Oh
want to
yeah,
grab it. When I think about all of that, I think about, a lot of people face imposter syndrome. A lot of people face, survivor's remorse, because
I
some
had it,
people,
sis.
they didn't get close a tenth of where you got when they came out. We know recidivism is real. I used to work for the
Yep.
Department of Juvenile Justice
Mm,
as a family preservation therapist.
my
And what
God.
we realized, sir, it wasn't just the youth, in which your case was different, but it was criminology in the family
Absolutely.
legacy, in the family history. So they will go out, get out, and go right back. But God has a different story with you. And I do want to say this, just straightforward to you. Not only do you deserve to be at the table, but your experience, your mindset, the change that has taken place within you is helping transform others. And that's why you are on stages. You are talking to young men. You are on stages talking to Congress and different people to help them see the relevance that people truly can change their life. Do you see this as life purpose in some way?
Oh, absolutely. This is what I'm geared to do. I've been on stages next to lieutenant governors. I've did skits in front of the governor. I've met so many congressmen just recently, and they're just people to me.
Mm.
Because God has a bigger purpose. Just today, a young lady who has a supervisory position challenged me. She said, you're in a field right now where you may see people once or twice and then you help them and you never see them again. You need to focus on being a change agent that help the change agents. And I never thought about it like that. She said, you have the education and the work ethic. You need to be in a position where you can help the folks who are trying to make the changes, because you got information that a lot of people don't have. Now, when I hear that, first I'm elated. And then the mindset goes back to say, you know, the shoe's going to drop at any moment. And that's the trick of the enemy when it comes to prison,
Come on.
especially with criminology, as you talked about.
Mhm.
And that's part of, I think, my passion. Part of my passion and my life's work is because I've seen so many of my friends and family continue a cycle that was designed way before slavery or way before mass incarceration. It was designed the minute that Eve said here and Adam said, I'll take it. So it was designed then, and it just recreates itself. So my life's work is, I might not be able to stop the recreation, but what I can do is prohibit you from coming here. And every time I can prohibit the enemy from coming here, then I think that's a win for Christ. Now, whether you choose Christ or not, that's on you. But that's what I'm doing it for. And as long as I keep Christ first, maybe I can win a soul for him in the process. Because I look at all this as soul winning. So yeah, that's my long way of saying, yeah, it's my life's work. It's a soul winning.
I love it. I
I'm a,
love it. I
I'm
love
about
it.
this life.
You
I don't
about
fake
this
it, Tam. I'm
life.
about this life.
Oh, I know it. Every chance I get to spend time and see you all on social media and have been with you face to face, you are certain that you've been called to this place. So describe for our audience, and we got more people jumping in. Describe for our audience some of the advocacy work that you are involved in today, like your job day to day. What does that look like when you're on stages? Who are you speaking to?
An average day on my job is me with about 40 agents. Each agent has about 250 people, and they sit down collectively and figure out who can need some face-to-face advocacy. And I suggest substance abuse recovery, or transitional homes, or maybe you need some mental health. I'm like a de facto unlicensed counselor or therapist, so to speak. Um, the grander scheme of things, I consult teaching reentry. I'm a workforce development guy too. Mm-hmm. I'm also a life skills trainer because I picked that little trade up from Pacific Institute. So wherever I can, I do. Like my wife and I, we just our nonprofit came in effect in February. We did an event already, but our whole goal is community reinvestment. We're just trying to figure out how we can reinvest in the community. Now, I will say that hasn't been the easiest thing because like my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, a prophet without honor amongst his own kin. So it's kind of been hard where I live, but God gave me a whole nother community. And in that community, we're just trying to reach people because I know that our African American urban communities are missing the Black men. So that's my passion. Some people have juveniles as a passion. My passion is Black men because I was incarcerated with good guys who I know criminology just destroyed. The grandfather was high. Yep. The father was high. The mother was high. The grandmother raised them. Everybody's in the house selling drugs. There's violence everywhere. What other choice you think you have? So these are the things, these are the personalities that I deal with, men and women, on a day-to-day basis because they sit in front of me and they know when I tell them I'm trying to help them, they can believe it because they know I come from where they come from. And they see an example of where they can get to. Because my job is to make sure, as I tell my team every day, our job is to make sure we set a table for the next one. And some people are going to be like Mephibosheth. We're going to have to carry some people and set them at the table because that's what they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? So,
Sir, I'm so excited. You know, what you're doing, the impact that you're making. Somebody out there are trying to figure out how do they tap into their source of encouragement, their empowerment in the earth, that thing that God has called them to do. And here you are sitting right in front of us, sharing with us that your story from being incarcerated for 18 years, how you took what the enemy meant for evil and you working it for your good, but not just for your good, but for the good of other folks. So
that's where the blessing comes.
Yes. How do you think your personal story, Donielle, resonate with others who may be incarcerated, who's transitioning, or people who are listening in who have family members who are incarcerated? Your personal story, how can it resonate with us to grab something from it so we can share it with those family members of ours who are incarcerated or who are transitioning out?
Part measure. The first part is, so we were in an institution called Patuxent Institution, and that's in Jessup, Maryland. And I was there last week and sitting with these men and women. They've done 25, 30 years. They're transitioning back into society. And just having a great time sitting with them did two things. It reminded me that this is why I do it, and it showed them that it could be done.
Say that again. Say that one more time. Somebody need to hear that.
It reminded me of what I've been through, and it showed them that it could be done. You know, and once again, I'm not boasting of Donielle. I'm just saying that I know what God brought Donielle through. And I tell the men that I do reentry with that if you just put forth the effort, the bridges that you burn, those same people will help you rebuild the bridge. And my message to those who have incarcerated loved ones is people go back to prison the very second they feel like you look at them as the same old person. And a lot of people don't want to admit that, and a lot of families won't admit it, and a lot of people won't say it. But one of the hardest things for someone coming out of prison is, I got one day before tomorrow starts. Because everybody gets one day walking out of prison. And that's the one day that somebody comes to pick you up and everybody's happy. And then after that, it's okay. Now what you gonna do? And you're like, wait a minute, and that puts people to the streets, pushes people to drugs. And I know that that's gonna sound to some people like he's making excuses for men and women that's going back to prison. On the contrary, I'm not making excuses at all. I'm telling you from experience what happens because not only had I went through it, I'm talking to people every day who go through it. So I'm giving you evidence.
Wow.
And I'll be quiet, or I'll get back to you with this. In my workbook, the Redemptionality workbook, I have a needs list, and it's 7 factors of what every person needs when they step out of prison. And if they have these things, they have a great chance of survival. The first thing is accountability. Because if you don't have accountability, I don't care what kind of support you have. That's the next thing. You need a circle of support. You need people willing to tell you the truth. You need a social security number, ID, birth certificate. You need to understand the power of no, because you're going to have to tell people no. You need someone that can think for you when you can't think. And the last thing you need is to remember what got you through what you got through. And if you can hold on to that, you can make it day by day. But if you don't have accountability and you don't understand the power of no, and that's for families who have people incarcerated, you have to say no to some people. Because the more you say yes, the more you're going to enable, the lazier they're going to be. I see it every day. And I could have been that. I was that person. You know, I spent 2 years, 4 days. I was home 56 days. I went back to jail. I did 13 years. So I was that person. I know how that 18 years went. From June 1st, 1994 to March 13th, 2013, I spent 56 days on land. The rest of it was behind a cell. I know how it goes.
Wow. Yeah, let's jump into chat. This is some good stuff. Yes, welcome. Just want to say welcome to those who are steady jumping in. Bishop Judy said, thanks so much, Mr. Davis, for your transparency. Maggie says, see absolutely what God does behind the scenes to make your experience a job that was created just for you, sir. Love this and congrats on your success and how you are helping others. This was designed for your path to cross. Amen. Preach, sir. We are listening. Bishop Judah said, you overcome by the word of your testimony. Yes. Maggie says, praise God, and so happy for you both. And we see Miss T. Davis. I think this somebody might be connected to you, sir, possibly. Says, thank you, Maggie. She's thanking Maggie for the words. Literally at the doctors for everything. Your wife is in here talking about you, or either your daughter won, but I'm glad he likes that. Miss T. Davis, who is that? Is that your wife or your daughter?
That's the woman I'm married to, and she love her husband a lot, so she says so. I'm gonna have to believe her because she loves the Lord.
Okay, I love it. I love this.
But not be lying to me about loving me.
I love it. And y'all love be on fire. Y'all be coming in hot. Y'all teaching us how to do it. And Ronnie says, this is a great conversation. Bishop Judy says, rejection is God's job description. Ooh.
Man, I'm telling you.
Yes. Music, so good to see music on tonight. God has used you to encourage others. I like this. I appreciate all that you do, music says. This is a true fact, and we see I may be pronouncing it wrong. Tashana, maybe. Praises up, hands up. See a lot of amens. So many people are jumping in, and I got more questions for you. So
I'm here.
So let me ask you this, sir. You told me I can go as deep as I want to go.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I appreciate that. Looking ahead and thinking about your aspirations for your future. both personally and as it relates to advocacy. What can we expect from Donielle in 2 to 5 years from now? What can we expect from you?
Full comprehensive transitional center for men and women. My goal, thank God, is to have transitional centers for men and women, not just homes. One that's fully comprehensive. It will have mental health, substance abuse, recovery training, and housing. Now, they're separate entities, and they're separate entities because everybody wants money. So the transitional house, they get the money, and the mental health, they get the money, and the treatment facilities, they get the money. And very few people want to combine all three because everybody just wants the money.
Right.
Because if I combine all three, it's less money. So are we in it for the money? Now, trust me, I got a mindset to be a millionaire. So, you know, God has surrounded us with billionaires our entire marriage. I don't know why I'm still a thousandaire, but God, you know.
That's just only for one night, though. You get ready to elevate.
Yeah, I know that's right. I'm ready to start singing Todd Tribbett. But
come on.
So that's my goal, men and women. And I think that if that can happen, I think when that happens, God will have something else for me to do. Mm-hmm. I still want to be out in the communities. You know, I'm not an activist. That's for somebody else. I'm an advocate. I deal in advocacy. Now, I'm radical as all outdoors and I'm black as you can get. So I could be an activist. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't want to go back and forth with bureaucracy when I can cut right through the red tape and advocate for someone who really needs some help. I don't want to be a voice box. That's my 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. My personal goal is I'm gonna say it because God, I know you love me. My personal goal is just to buy some land and build a house with 2 lofts on it for our parents to stay in the back, because we know they're getting older, and we all could live there. I know that sounds like minute.
No, that's big. That's big. And Tammie Harris Real Estate Firm is going to help you do that. That is big because you're speaking legacy.
You know, that's what I'm about. Listen, I know my wife when we behave, I'm not gonna behave. Man, so often than not, black folk just do not understand the importance of legacy and land. Put your toes on some sand that belongs to you. And that's what I'm about. And I'll leave this earth to be in my heavenly home when God cracks that sky, knowing that I have left a legacy so my grandkids will never have to go to a bank and say, I need to do this. My grandkids is gonna already have an avenue and a pathway to say, hey, Pop already had a bit. Pop and my mom, they built businesses for us. They left land for us because we're 25 generations behind in the land thing. You know what I mean? 50s, we just started really buying and owning land. So 1619 to 1950, you do your own math, about 25 generations. So we're so far behind in land owning. So I believe since my father is rich in houses and land, let me get some of it.
You better come on here now. You know, I was just sharing with someone. They asked me, they said, how do you feel about having the opportunity to build tiny homes in South Africa? And you and your wife participated in that. You all gave towards the South Africa tiny home projects. You all gave towards our youngest son, Jalen, going to do missionary work in Jamaica. You all are givers at heart. Someone asked me, they said, how do you feel? I said, how I feel about it is, if God will position me to build homes for the homeless, my whole family will own homes. All of my kids, my grandkids, my cousins, you know, Shaquanta, who's my engineer with this radio show, I remember, and she's my cousin / daughter. Her mom and I were like sisters, and her mom, God rest her, she's in heaven, and Shaquanta and I, we worked together in the real estate firm. But I remember when she bought her first house, and she was so young, and she was wondering, should I do it? I said, not only should you do it, but everybody else in our family will do it. And so I said to someone, if I would build homes for the less fortunately, God's going to make sure my whole family have land and generational wealth. So when you say that, I don't think it's crazy. I think we should change the narrative, because we have
you better know it.
This. But it's time to come to the table. And then not only, sir, do we come to the table, but then we realize that we belong at the table, because Bishop Judy said, we are transformed by the word of our testimony. And so even going forward, no matter what situation you're in and who look at you whatever kind of way, you belong at the table. Look, you live to tell the story. They don't know the cost of your oil. Now, don't get me preaching, because I'll go there.
And not only do we belong at the table, we're going to build our table. Woo! Be able to sit people around, and we'll build the chairs too.
Yes. I love it. Listen, man. Can you believe it's almost 9 o'clock?
I know, right? I done talked your head off. It's almost 9 o'clock.
Oh, no, this is good. But I got a few more questions. I'm not letting you off the hook. I'm going to take this thing all the way up to 9 o'clock. If you had to go back, sir, and speak to your younger self before you was incarcerated, if you now had to go back and speak to your younger self, what advice would you give him?
I tell my younger self, thank you, because I know goodness well that I wouldn't be who I am without going through everything I went through. I tell my wife all the time, I got this favorite passage of scripture, and I did so much time, I had a lot of time to read. So in Lamentations 3, Jeremiah said, remembering the wormwood and the gall, my soul have remembered them, it's humbled me. And Jeremiah talked about all the things like he felt like God had left him, and he had forgot prosperity, and he remembered all wormwood and gall. I can't even imagine what that tastes like. But he said he remembers it. He said his soul have remembered it, and it humbled him. But all we hear is just, I recall to mind, therefore I have hope. It's the Lord's mercy that we are not consumed. Because compassion fail not, we knew every morning, great is our faithfulness. People love to say that. They don't love to say what came before. Jeremiah had to get to that process. I tell people every day I wouldn't change nothing. And I know pain came with that, but perseverance came with it. And the only reason that this diamond is here, because he got crushed like all outdoors. He was cold as like all outdoors. So I wouldn't change anything. And some people might say, you are crazy. You spent 18 years, you lost your daughter, y'all be ready to kill each other ahead of time, but she'll burn the whole world up, figuratively speaking, behind her father. You know what I mean? Because she's daddy's little girl. She gets on daddy's nerves and he gets on hers, but she is a lion when it comes to protecting her father. And, God restored all the years that the palmer worm and the caterpillar and the
come on,
restored it all. So why would I change anything? God made me who I am because of all that. And I'm cool with that. Even though the enemy would try to trick me and dupe me, play games with my mind, tell me I'm not supposed to do this, be this. It's just the trick of the enemy. He's doing his job, so I got to stay doing mine.
Yeah. And how you're staying doing yours is you are sharing your story. You're building your testimony. You got history with God. You can look over your shoulder and see where he already brought you from. And then you're testifying to the glory of God. And then you're seeing God has created rooms just for you. And you're writing books and all this stuff. How can we get, if somebody wants you on their stage, if someone wants your book, how do we get in touch with you? Now, I got y'all's personal cell number, but how do people get in contact with you?
So we have 2 websites. Getting in contact with us for the book, and I'm uploading it actually tomorrow. It'll be on from rustogold.com. That's that website, from rustogold.com. If you want to donate to our nonprofit, it's redemptionalleyway.org. redemptionalley.org. And it's all in the name, Redemption Alleyway, because that is the alleyway that God found me on, that road to Damascus. It's Redemption Alleyway. That was Paul's Redemption Alleyway. It's where that comes from. And the phone number, if you want to call us, is 302-745-6730. That's our business phone. You can call us. I take it with me every day. If I ain't got it, my wife will have it. So, you know, somebody's gonna answer that phone, and that's just it. You know, my goal is, how can I help people? That's where the slogans from the shirts come from.
Yeah.
I'm wild like that. I'm always writing. I think I'm a laureate. And if I think of something, I'll be like, hey, this is a nice slogan for a shirt. God equals Jesus equals God. Simple math. How much is math? How simple can the math be? We got to do something different soon. Believe and obey. I mean, these things just come to us, and I put it on a t-shirt. I put it on a hoodie. Yeah, it's just, you know, I like the.
And which site is that a prayer on? If we want to get
it's on the same. It's on the same from rustagold.com.
Okay.
The next thing we will upload is our hoodies. They're kind of there, but I kind of like push them to the back because it's summertime.
Right.
I ordered some hoodies, all the t-shirts. I don't even think I put them up. I haven't even put the t-shirts on. I've been so busy just trying to operate in this season, because I know God will take care of that when it comes.
Right.
And this season has just been a season of just giving God my yes.
Woo!
I stole that from T. Davis, but just giving God my yes. And sometimes when you give God your yes, your friends, family, and loved ones give you their no. People that have sworn to support you once you decided to venture out have told you no. But God said, just give me your yes. For a moment of transparency, I know my wife really want me to shut up, but I just understood, even with sharing the link or sharing the broadcast, I said, the one thing I'm not going to do is tell people, hey, I'm on this broadcast. You've seen the Facebook post for days. So if you wanted to click the link, you could. And if you didn't, it's all right. Because God's going to send me out of Nazareth to another land, which people know not. And there I'm going to have prosperity.
I love it. I love
That's all now.
Yes. And I love this. So good. Thank you, T. Davis, for putting the links inside the chat. And I love.
I knew she would.
Yeah, she be on it now. Girlfriend don't play when it come to her man. And I love what Maggie said, and I want us to kind of close out with this. She says, we all belong at the table. Everybody. And we will be at our table. She said, I don't want this to end, but of course we have to come to an end. And, sir, I'm going to give you the next 60 seconds to give us any last words that might be burning in your heart that you want to leave with our audience on tonight.
Honestly, Tammy, my last words ain't even about me. My last words are just for you. I just pray that God continues to just mobilize you, to let your heart just be on full display, and let the finances that your heart needs to be on full display just be poured into you. And I just pray that God makes sure that you don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to call a person. The greatest advice I ever got was from one of my mentors, Tony Wolf. And he says, you don't have to go out and look for a team. God will assemble a team and bring it to you. And everyone that comes to you will have everything that you need to do everything that you ever wanted to do. Because God intently knows your desires. This is one of the desires of your heart. So I just pray that God just builds your platform, and not only builds your platform, builds the platform for you right in front of your very eyes. So you continue to be amazed by everything that he does. Because God's going to take care of me.
See, you trying to make my eyes water. That's what I'm going to talk to your wife about you, sir. Thank you so much. Your words mean so much. Your sharing on tonight This interview has exceeded, abundantly above more than I could have asked, imagine, or think. And thank you, because I have certain people in mind that I want to be on this show. And sometimes people call me and they want to be on the show. And I said, well, let's look and see. But there are people that I want to be on this show. And I called you and you said yes. So may the fact that you said yes, God reward you in every way imaginable. And I'm proud to call
Hallelujah.
You and your wife friends. And so in the chat, we still got people chatting away. Lisa Jacobs was able to jump on. She says, this has been an amazing blessing. This has been a blessing. She thank you. And Maggie, of course, thank you. Thank you, Maggie, for always jumping in and jumping on. Bishop Judah says, yes, yes, yes. Ronnie says, Donielle Davis, thank you for sharing your story. May God continue to bless you and your family. And so people have been blessed. It's 9:00. So I want to say to my audience on tonight, it's called Mindset to Millions. It's not about the 7 figures. What is this about is, how do you see yourself? Do you understand that you belong at the table? And once you get at the table, you realize God brought you there. No plate will fall. Life will be life, but God be God. Next Monday night, join us 8 p.m. We will be back with another awesome guest that will help you get to your new next now. Make it a great night, and we will see you at the top. Bye for now.